If I had to sum up this movie in just a couple of words, it's basically just a giant Tom and Jerry cartoon with kaiju. Hello, everyone. Welcome back, and we're here to talk about Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. As you all know, Godzilla is definitely a pivotal part of this channel. It's what got it started, so gotta always recognize where you come from and stuff. Because I'm so big and I've made it to the big leagues now. Uh, but I think it's before you go right in, kind of give all my thoughts on the Monsterverse as a whole. I really enjoyed the Monsterverse. By no means is it perfect. But I do kind of like that each movie, I think, does have its strengths and weaknesses. And I can't really say that as a whole cinematic universe, it's totally consistent. And this movie is definitely the point that helps contribute to that. But for all the other ones, brief, quick summary. Godzilla 2014. Didn't like it when it first came out. It's grown on me. I definitely say it's probably on the higher end for me for the Monsterverse movies. I'd probably put it in second place. The human characters are very boring, but I do like just the atmosphere, and I feel each scene with the kaijus has a real sense of gravitas. Kong Skull Island, a very enjoyable, fun film. Has some noticeable flaws like too many characters and all that, but overall, I do like a lot of the action. It's very fun. I do like John C. Reilly's character. And the cinematography and directing is very well done in that movie. Godzilla King of the Monsters, also a very fun one. That one to me, I'd say as a Godzilla fan, that one's personally my favorite of the Monsterverse bunch. By no means I would say it's the best one. I would argue probably 2014 is the best one. But King of the Monsters, I love everything about that movie. I'd say that's probably the movie that I did like my first real review that I'm actually proud of, and obviously despite some audio issues and all that, I still am pretty proud of that video, which you can check out after this one, or go check that one out and then come back to this one. But I really like a lot of stuff about that one, and I think that is one that people like to use that one as the example for flaws within the Monsterverse, when I think Godzilla versus Kong or Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, both of those would be much better examples. But Godzilla versus Kong, very fun, very stupid. Obviously came out during COVID. I saw that one with my brother, which was a lot of fun. We actually saw that one twice. But that one was a lot of fun to go see and watch, despite being pretty dumb. So kind of with this one, coming with Godzilla X Kong, or I guess we got two more Monsterverse entries. We got Skull Island, the Netflix anime, which I don't really like. All the human characters making me wish that they were getting eaten. I like the stuff with Kong for the 5 minutes that he's in it. And then we got Monarch Legacy of Monsters. It's a pretty mid show. There's really good ideas in there, and half of the show's pretty solid. But the other half is filled with some of the most melodramatic soap opera drama, bold nonsense that I just do not care about, and the show doesn't do a good job of making care about. So that one's kind of okay. Now we finally come to the new one, Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. First trailer, did a video on it. Like a lot of people, the first trailer was pretty miss. With a lot of potential and a lot of flags, I'll say, that we're seeing. And so, and then the second trailer came out, also did a video on that. And it was a much better trailer. I think that was kind of just what they should have done in the first place. And that's just what they should have done in the second trailer, because the first trailer was pretty mixed. Second trailer, much better, much more enjoyable. And so we come to the actual movie. What did I think of it? Out of the Monsterverse movies, I'd probably say it's the weakest. I think we all kind of knew this. If you like Godzilla vs. Kong, you're probably going to like this movie. If you didn't like Godzilla vs. Kong, you're probably not going to like this movie. Um, or I feel like the trailers are very reflective of what you get from this movie. So it's not a bait and switch. What you see in the trailers is what you're gonna get. And so if you like the trailers, you're gonna like the movie. You didn't like trailers, you're not gonna like the movie. It's a pretty straightforward film. Um, I won't go into spoilers yet. I'll make it more known when I'm doing a spoiler portion. Um, Lots of kaiju, lots of Titan action, kaiju action. I don't know. It doesn't matter. They're Titan action. It's what they're called in the universe, but they're kaiju anyway. I don't know why I'm dragging on. A lot of it, all very fast paced. When I said this was a Tom and Jerry cartoon, but for live action, if you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. There's a lot of it. A lot of it is borderline slapstick. Some at the cost of tone, I would say, for certain Titans. But overall, it's very fun. It's very creative. Definitely, probably the most out of all of the Monsterverse movies, I would have to guess. And I will say, this is something that I've just kind of accepted with this movie, that I don't think we're probably going to get a very serious or a movie that takes itself all too seriously from this franchise, which I would like a little more seriousness, but that's just me. Again, I still enjoyed this movie. Me saying it's the weakest does not mean that I hate it. I would just say it's this is probably going to be the most polarizing out of all the movies. I would not be surprised. I feel like this one is going to be very split among Monsterverse fans. I think Godzilla fans might like it a little bit more because it is a pretty it's just a modern day Showa film. I feel like the first Godzilla 2014 very just like the original, very serious. Skull Island, all the other ones, I'd say those are pretty kind of remind me of like the Millennium movies, which those ones take themselves a little more seriously but still have some pretty silly goofy moments in it. And then this one is just straight up Showa. Like Godzilla Dropkick Showa. Unfortunately, we don't get that. At least nothing directly like that. How we kind of got the recreation of the tree scene. But yeah, one thing I do really like about this movie is that the Titans are treated like actual characters. Like Godzilla vs. Kong, I think really started to embrace that idea, but I feel this movie is the one that really embraces it, and this is the one that I really liked what they did with a lot of with the Titans in this. I really like what they did with Kong. I think Kong's was easily the most engaging story. And I'm a Godzilla guy, and I've always liked Kong, but definitely Kong's story, at least to me, was the most interesting and the most engaging. I really liked what they do with him without getting into spoilers. And Godzilla, he's kind of there, kind of like Godzilla versus Kong. He's detecting this threat, and he's kind of doing his own thing in the background until him and Kong need to come together. And so, kind of like Godzilla versus Kong, I kind of feel like it treads on the similar territory with that. The villains. I will say this is probably one of the weaker parts of the movie. Again, not getting the spoilers, but certain Titans in this movie were a little disappointing. There's actually a couple that I can think of. But I don't know if that's just me. I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to be a big issue that a lot of people have. So I guess we'll see with that one. Human characters. If you thought Godzilla vs. Kong's human characters were scraping at the barrel, this one's even worse. It's like they try to set up an emotional arc for one of the characters, and then it's just kind of rushed at the end, which, not the ending climax, but the ending just felt very rushed. This whole movie's very rushed. Again, it's a Tom and Jerry cartoon, basically, so I take with that as you will. That being said, I think Tom and Jerry cartoon would be. I probably would like that more than this one, but then again, this is still a very fun, very entertaining film. But be prepared, very very stupid. Even more so than Godzilla versus Kong, which was held the title as a dumbest Monsterverse movie. Um, with that being said, let's kind of go into spoilers. This is your warning. Not, I'm sure you've seen like a million TV spots and trailers. You probably already know, but here's your warning. So we'll go right in 3, 2, 1. Penguins. I really like what they do with Kong. His relationship with Zuko. Zuko? I don't know. It's like edgy primate Zuko. I kind of like how they did a Gollum thing at first. Which, looking at it, I do see the comparison between Zuko and Gollum. I feared he was just going to be Baby Yoda, where like, oh, he does cute little thing, and everyone goes, ee. But I actually kind of do like what they do with Zuko. I will say, the fight scene, again, spoiler warning, where Kong gets jumped by the 3, I don't know, bad apes, and Zuko jumps on his face, and Kong just grabs him and starts beating the other apes with Zuko, this little baby ape. I was dying. Like that got like a genuine hard laughter out of me. That was very similar vibe to when Hulk smashes Loki, but like that, easily the funniest moment of the film. Got a very like a hard, genuine laugh out of me. So props for the movie. That probably got the hardest laugh from me out of all of the Monsterverse movies. Because I will say, all the intentional comedy in this movie, it's in there. But kind of like Godzilla vs. Kong, it's all the really serious stuff that kind of comes across as really funny, unintentionally. And then the intentional comedy is what really lacks in both of those movies. Godzilla's he's always in there. This movie, you'll kind of notice a pattern. We do Kong's story, then Godzilla's, then the humans, then Kong's, until they all kind of finally come together. But that's kind of how the pacing of this movie is. Godzilla's pretty fun. We get to see him fight Scylla and Tiamat. Tiamat? You know, if you're watching this, you probably know of Goji Center. They've done a video on it, or you know the Monsterverse, you've read the comics. But Tiamat, yeah, like I said, very much a Tom and Jerry cartoon. That's pretty much what I can say for this whole movie. Because I will say, if you're a fan of Scylla and Tiamat, you are not gonna like what happens to them. So, but yeah, it was pretty cool to see these titans who, obviously Scylla we saw in King of the Monsters, but it was pretty cool to see Tiamat, who was in the comics, actually come into in live action. So that was pretty cool for the 1 or 2 minutes it was in it. Titanus Doug also makes a return. He's a lot bigger than I thought he would be. But yeah, he's pretty funny. Mothra. She was kind of one of the Titans I was a little disappointed by. She's in the movie, but I feel it's like, oh, Mothra's here. It feels like she's just kind of there to basically just get Godzilla to come to Hollow Earth, and that's kind of it. Which is fine. And like she does get some action scenes. I don't know, like both this movie and King of the Monsters both have very little screen time for her, but like in King of the Monsters, I feel like she really makes the most out of the limited screen time she's in there, whereas here it kind of feels like, oh, Mothra's here and stuff. You're like, oh, okay, that's kind of, you're like, that's cool. It's like, it is cool to see Mothra again and stuff. I don't know, pet peeve, I kind of wish we did get to see a little more of an interaction between her and Godzilla. I don't know. That's just a personal thing. Now to the villains. Shimu. She is indeed a female. It is confirmed. I know that was pretty speculated as far as I know. I don't know. But yeah, she's pretty cool. Very big. Looks just like the toy. And they show most of her scenes in the trailers, but it's whatever. Um, I will say, whenever her and Godzilla are fighting, if Kong and Scar King's fights are kind of like the two owners fighting each other, I feel like Godzilla versus Shimu is, or Shimo, I don't know, is very much like they're two dogs fighting each other. It's, I don't know. I did not take this movie very seriously at all. And in that way, it is very fun. Um, but yeah, there's even a scene where like they're both a whole sequence where there's no gravity, and you see Godzilla and Shimo, and they're like trying to reach each other. They're doing like a little doggy paddle thing. Kind of looks like two cats like swatting at each other. Um, but I feel like she was kind of a little underwhelming. Like in terms of like how powerful she was. I don't know. Like I know like Godzilla powered up a ton. Um, but I feel like we didn't really get to see that comparison of like just how powerful um she is. Because it's kind of like, oh, like it seems like she's like a little more powerful than Godzilla, but honestly it's like pretty even, at least from what I got. But you know, it's cute at the end when Kong's riding her back, and you know she's just being forced to do against her will, and she doesn't really want to hurt anyone. She's just a sweet little old lady. Um, but I feel like she kind of was not as, I don't know, big and epic, I feel like, as the trailers and the stories wanted us to build up to. I feel like they were trying to do that for Scar King. And let me tell you, Scar King was like genuinely like, I thought he was kind of terrible. I'm gonna be honest. I even when the whole idea of like, oh, like a evil monkey and stuff, I'd be like, that's not the real threat. That's gonna be like the big danger, and it's not. Scar King's like he's not like a bad fighter, but like Kong is clearly stronger than him, and like even when they're fighting in the cave, like Kong would have beaten him if it was like Scar King didn't have any outside interference, I guess. Um, but yeah, he like the majority of the Scar King scenes are like him just getting dunked on, and I don't know. He was like the only good villain that has been from the Monsterverse movies is Ghidorah, and I still stand by like he's a legitimate, like even just like a good villain outside of um the Monsterverse, whereas like even for the Monsterverse villains, which most of them are just giant monsters, like you got the Mutos, the Skullcrawler, Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla was kind of fun. Um, Scar King, you kind of see some of the scenes in the trailers and TV spots again. I would do your best to try to avoid all that because it is going to be very revealing of how it is. Of a lot of the action scenes. But yeah, Scar King, I think if you'll see, like, I don't know, I never felt like the Scar King himself was an actual threat. Which is kind of a shame, because I do think it's funny, like, you have all these people like Goji Center, people like really hyping up the Scar King, and he's like really pathetic of a villain. Like, it's really funny to me. That people are like, oh, he's gonna be super cool, and like, no, like he's kind of lame. At least I thought so. Maybe people will think he's cool and stuff. He's like not a bad design, but what he kind of does, he's just kind of there to get punched and beaten around and tossed around. He kind of gets an occasional good couple licks. Again, like the only like scene I'd say like he's a true badass is when he's fighting Kong for the first time. But again, I'm pretty sure after that, like after Kong throws him off, Kong would have beaten him. Like I never felt that threatened by the Scar King, which is not something you want from your antagonist. So basically, I called it in my second trailer. So the one commenter who I am too lazy to pull up, who said, "Well, the Scar King's the real threat," I was right. He was not that intimidating of a villain. I feel like that's pretty much like all the spoiler stuff people want to hear. It's only gonna be stuff with the Titans. So like it has a lot of contributions to like the lore of the Monsterverse. One thing I didn't like that I felt like they changed is Mothra and that they needed Gia. Again, I was totally called it. She was the magical MacGuffin that they needed to awaken Mothra, which I felt like kind of retconned Mothra, like the whole twins that has been set up in all the previous movies and in King of the Monsters. So I kind of felt like it was one of those things that was like, I didn't really like that change. But again, I'm like a 20-something guy, so none of my videos should be taken that seriously. So if you're all up in arms about my thoughts on this movie, I don't know, go touch grass or something. Like I got a lot of the figures. Like clearly I like this franchise and stuff. Like it's fun. It's really dumb, but it's fun. I will say, I don't think there was any moment in this movie that, like, every other Monsterverse movie has had one moment where I was like, whoa, like, that was badass, man. Like, that was really cool and stuff. That was awesome. Like, there's a lot of fun action scene, but I can't think of any moments where I was like, dang, like, had, like, that type of reaction. Whereas all the other ones, I can think of, like, I get, like, that chill. Whereas this one, I didn't really get that. So, like, it kind of reminds me of, like, a Transformers movie. It's, take that as you will. But, again, it's enjoyable. By no means, I don't think anyone is expecting this to be, like, a masterpiece or a work of art or anything. I was very whelmed. I kind of went in with certain expectations of what to expect from this film, and they were met. And so, that's kind of all I gotta say about this one. Maybe I'll do I might do a ranking of all the Monsterverse movies soon, since Monsterverse is gonna be topical right now. But yeah, comment your thoughts on what you all thought on this. Where would you kind of rank it amongst other Monsterverse films? Again, final ranking from best to worst for me: King of the Monsters, then probably 2014. Then GVK, Skull Island, Godzilla X Kong New Empire, Skull Island, the anime, and then finally Monarch Legacy of Monsters. So that's kind of my premature ranking of all the Monsterverse properties. But yeah, I'm curious on what you all thought about it, why I'm wrong and all that. But comment all your thoughts down below. Spank all those buttons. Stay safe out there, and I will see you all later. Bye bye.